What is up, everybody, and welcome to my review of Cuckoo. Now, this is a film that I saw a few months back at the Overlook Film Festival in New Orleans. It was the opening film of the festival, and it ended up being my second favorite film over all of the festival. But it comes out this weekend, so this is a film that I have been wanting to talk about for a while, but I wanted to wait until closer to release when everybody was really excited and really hungry for discussion on this film before expressing why I enjoyed it so much. And before I even get into any of this, I highly encourage you, if you are really interested in this film, to walk in as blind as possible. Now, I'm going to be very spoiler-free in this review, but I have even been on Twitter a number of times after seeing trailers and saying, hey, don't watch this trailer if you're interested in this movie. Avoid this if you're interested in this movie, because this is one of those films that I was able to walk in knowing absolutely nothing. I didn't know who directed it. I didn't really recognize the girl in the poster. I had never seen her before. I didn't know the plot synopsis of this. I walked in, the movie started, and then I experienced the story in real time. And I absolutely loved it by the end of it. And I think that's the preferred way to check out this film. And without giving away too much, essentially what this movie is about is this teenage girl that is basically forced to move with her family, her father and her new stepmother and stepsister, to this isolated little resort. And from the moment that they get there, things are very off. And there seems to be something out in the wilderness that is after her. Now, starting off with the positives for Cuckoo, the big thing that really stuck out about this film to me, in a year where we've had a number of films that have been billed by early reactions or early reviews as scariest movie of the year, or most shocking movie of the year, or most mind-bending movie of the year. What stood out to me about this one is, for my own personal taste, this movie does have the best scares so far of 2024. Because Cuckoo does such a good job at blending multiple methods at eliciting scares from its viewers. There's some of them that are leaning towards jump scares, but they're very effective jump scares. They're not the cheap fake out ones, the cliche ones that we all hate. And they also linger for a bit longer than traditional jump scares happen. So it gives you like this enhanced jump feeling where you're sitting there and you're like, God damn, okay, all right, stop. It's also really good at creating this very eerie and uncomfortable atmosphere and uncomfortable setting. And even the nature of the story as it starts to unfold is so bizarre and so strange that you just can't help but have this feeling of discomfort throughout. And it also has extended sequences where the tensions are high, where you know somebody is in danger, you know that something is about to happen, and you're just waiting for the tension to be released for this extended period. And it's one of the reasons why I immediately, after seeing this trailer live for the first time in the theaters, immediately got on Twitter and said, don't watch this fucking trailer, because it gives away so many of the best scares. So if you're lucky enough to not have had those ruined by the trailer, you're in for a really nice treat. And those of you that did unfortunately see the trailer, there's still quite a bit left in the film that I think is going to give you a really good experience, but fucking marketing. Another thing that I really appreciated by the end of this film, which doesn't always work for me, which is part of the reason why I appreciate it the level that I did, is that this is a film that really doesn't give you a lot of answers. Like, it just puts you in the situation, things get weirder and weirder and weirder, and by the end of it, there's still a lot of things that maybe a couple more watches would solve some of them, but certainly there's just a certain amount of ambiguity and this uncertain nature to the details and how things work that it just really kept me thinking about the movie. I mean, even now, months later, I was itching to get this review out, and I will certainly be going to the theater to check this thing out once it releases, because there's just so much here that I want to continue to explore. Like, the weirdness was intoxicating for me. As far as performances goes, this was my first experience with Hunter Schafer. I believe she's on Euphoria, maybe did a few other things, but this was my introduction to her, and she does awesome at leading this film. Not only is she this really nice balance between being this awkward, kind of bitchy, angsty teenager while also being very likable and very easy to identify with, but she's really funny. And this is another thing about the movie that I really enjoyed that we'll just go ahead and get into now, is that it's got a really smart sense of humor. For a movie where tensions are always high and there's really fucked up weird things going on, and as I said, some of the best scares, if not the best scares of the year, it's got really good moments where it pauses to have a much needed laugh, a much needed moment of levity. And that's a hard balance to strike in a movie like this, because you could very easily undercut the tension you're going for. It could very easily throw the tone off, or it could just devolve into an all-outright comedy for some people. And this always keeps a really nice balance of keeping all the focus on the scares, but giving you those much needed moments to let you breathe so they can hit you again.
Why did you bring us here?
Your family belongs here.
That's a fucking weird way to put it.
But her performance, her character, very capable lead here. I really liked her interaction with basically every character, because it was a very well-written interaction. Whether it's her and her father, her and her stepsister, her and Dan Stevens' character, like at no point does this character feel like somebody that I've never met before. And I think a lot of the things that they're exploring with her character, being somebody that has this understandable anger and frustration towards her situation, and this very uncertain emotion towards her new stepmother and her stepsister, and especially with the stepsister, that is a very core relationship that is very prevalent in this movie and prevalent to what they're exploring narratively, that is very relatable. Anybody that has been in a situation where families are combined, there's always some nature of that. Very rarely is it like, harmony. Everybody just comes together, high fives, we're a family now. There's always somebody or multiple people that are like, no, I understand you two are in love, but you got to give me some time to catch up here, and you're just forcing me into this and making me even more uncomfortable. And Dan Stevens, this is his year. Look, I wasn't the biggest fan of Godzilla v. Kong, but he was the best part of it. I thought he was awesome in Abigail, and he is possibly at his best this year in this movie. His character is so weird and creepy and off-kilter that right away, from the moment he walks on screen, you know something's up with him. Like, the movie doesn't hide at all that he is definitely the source of everything sinister that is going on here. But they play with that in a very entertaining way throughout the movie. They don't try to hide it. They don't try to pretend like they're going to trick you with some kind of a villain reveal with him. From the moment he gets there, very overtly, he's like, "Hi, I'm the villain." But through his accent and the dialect, and through his interaction, especially with Hunter Schafer, even in those very comedic scenes that I was talking about, he is one of the more standout and memorable villains that we have had in this entire year. I loved what he did here, and if it wasn't already proven that this dude is a force to be reckoned with and is absolutely a star to keep your eyes on, 2024 Dan Stevens is making that known. But possibly the biggest thing that stood out to me about this film, especially in relation to what I started off saying about the scares and the very eerie tone of this movie, the sound design is incredible in Cuckoo. Most of the tension, most of the uneasiness, most of the scares that you get in this film are because of the sound design, are because of things that you hear in the distance, because of the way that they design very off-kilter notations that things are about to get very bad for these characters. And especially the way the sound design is used in relation to the main source of evil, the main source of fright that comes in this film as it's revealed. It's one of those things that's like the perfect balance between something that's just disturbing to hear and something that's very just unpleasant to hear, like nails on a chalkboard, that every time there's even a hint that it's about to happen, it sends chills down your spine. And now moving on to the negatives. And this is the part of the film that I think is going to be the biggest make or break segment for everybody that watches this. Because of the people that saw it with me at Overlook, I was the person that enjoyed this movie the most by a lot. Pretty much everybody else said, I think I really liked it, but I don't know what the fuck I just watched. Like, I don't understand this movie, but I kind of like that, I think. And I very much did like that, but one aspect of the movie in regards to how they're trying to explain lore in the third act especially, there's some pretty sizable holes that they leave, I believe by intention, that is not going to work for everybody. And there were certainly one or two that I walked out a little frustrated. Like, as much as I loved the mystery and some of the holes, and I'm very much drawn to check this out a second time and try to put some of these puzzle pieces together, and hopefully I will, there were a couple of things that I know for a fact there's never going to be changed by any viewings of this film. They just did not answer that. They kind of hinted towards it and then just left it off there. And the benefit of that is that you don't give too much explanation for the weirdness and then it just falls apart. But the negative of that is that you're frustrated by not understanding certain things. So I think that most people that don't like this movie, when they do see it, that's going to be the reason why, is that I didn't understand it. It was too weird. It was too much unanswered for me. But overall, guys, I absolutely love this movie. I cannot wait to check it out again. I have been very impatiently waiting for months at this point for all of you to be able to check it out, and we can all talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of this film. For me, it is probably the scariest film that I've seen thus far this year, and there's been some pretty heavy competition for that. So take that for what it is. If you understand my taste, take that for what that means. But please check this thing out and go in as blind as you possibly can, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Well, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed that, click over here for all of my 2024 new release reviews. I'm also going to put my ranking of all the other films that I saw, including this one, at the Overlook Film Festival for you to check out. Like, share, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss everything in the future. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.